Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Lisa Medaglia, also known as Dr. Lullaby. Today we're going to talk about inadequate sleep hygiene. Inadequate sleep hygiene means poor sleep habits resulting in insufficient sleep. So interestingly enough, when the field of sleep first came about, this was something that was happening based on a lot of times lack of knowledge. So before the internet, before people could search the term, sleep habits or insomnia or sleep problems, no one really knew these common practices that were the do's and don'ts with regards to sleep habits. And actually, Peter Howery, who used to work at my hospital, University of Chicago, and has recently unfortunately passed away, he wrote one of the first books on sleep hygiene and really kind of coined this term for us. And so we nowadays, though, a lot of times when people come to my clinic, they already know the basics of sleep hygiene. They know what they should and shouldn't do, but sometimes struggle with implementation of these changes. So today's lesson, I want to just highlight the importance of implementing the proper sleep habits to make sure that you are getting enough sleep or your child is getting enough sleep. And really, it starts with just kind of identifying that there is a problem and making a choice to kind of go about the solution. So let's first talk about teens. So with teenagers, we know that they tend to have a natural delayed sleep phase. So their internal clock is truly set so that melatonin production patterns are happening at a different time and they're sleepy at a later point in time, and they're not alert at an early enough hour for school scheduling. And so because of that, when parents are hoping for teenagers to get to bed early, it's often the case that they're not quite laying down when we think they are. And I also think part of the problem for teenagers is that, their frontal lobes aren't fully developed yet, right? So they're not able to make that choice that I better put this fun, engaging electronic device down and choose for sleep. So, and third, I think a part of the problem for teenagers is that they crave more alone time. They're kind of at this stage of life in their development where they want some time alone, and it's potentially appropriate, but they don't necessarily have that during their waking hours. So they're waiting up late and having that time alone then. So, interestingly, a lot of parents don't really realize that their kids are spending time awake during the expected sleep window. Um, I saw this at once during clinic where, I had a parent bring their child in and she really thought that her teenager had narcolepsy. She's like, he is falling asleep left and right. I can't get him out of bed in the morning. I really am convinced he has narcolepsy. And then we did our special, I call it our spy equipment actigraphy, and had him wear a watch for 2 weeks. And it turned out he was just, staying up until 2 a.m. He told us that he had some really fun video games that he was gaming with Australia, I guess, and he was up really late and getting only 2 or 3 hours of sleep each night. So it was really, actually, mom was, tearful. She had no idea. She felt really bad, and I explained to her that it's really, really common. It's nothing to feel bad about. It's something that a lot of parents don't realize that their teenagers are staying up as late as they are. So research on the average sleep on school nights for teenage boys and girls really highlights this problem. So less than 17% of girls and 21% of boys sleep less than 5 hours in the teenage space, and 20% of girls and 23% of boys sleep 6 hours, 30% of girls and 28% of boys sleep 7 hours, 25% of girls and 21% of boys sleep 8 hours, and only 9% of girls and 8% of boys sleep their recommended 9 hours. So I think this really kind of highlights the problem that we have. So what I'd suggest parents do, and if teenagers are watching this, kind of let your parents do this or do this with your parents. Some of the wearables out there like Fitbit or some of the consumer available wearables are really helpful at kind of being spy equipment. Wearing a Fitbit for 2 weeks or wearing one of the wearables for 2 weeks, it can help to kind of show the family, highlight whether there's a problem, and then kind of going back to our sleep hygiene lesson and making sure that we're tightening the reins on some of those solutions. Now, on the adult side, sleep hygiene, poor sleep habits are also quite common. Adults are not making the time for sleep that they should. So 1/3 of our population in the adult side is sleep deprived. So I would say that on the adult side, I think the reason for the problem is a little bit different. I think that sometimes, on the adult side, maybe they have too much work to get done and they can't get all of the work tasks completed during daytime hours. And then just also just elevated stress. They kind of are experiencing too much stress and too many things that they need to get done, not even just with work, but with everything. And then it creeps into nighttime sleep hours. And then sometimes just adults enjoying that time alone as well, just like with teenagers, right? They want some time alone. And so maybe the nighttime hours are the only time that they have to themselves, and they're staying up late to enjoy those hours. Unfortunately, because of the consequences of sleep loss that we talked about in our sleep need lesson, it's really important that we make sure that we're tightening the reins and getting the sleep hours that we need. So using sleep logs and wearables can be a great way for adults to see whether their total sleep time is sufficient, and using some of those lessons from the sleep hygiene lessons and making sure that we're implementing all the do's and don'ts of sleep habits are really, really important. So I think that the take-home message is for everybody to try to do the best you can with realizing that there is a problem and trying to work on a solution. Thank you.